Okay. Hey, guys. Welcome to Previa Alliance.
Hey.
It is Sarah and Whitney.
And Whitney.
Okay. So there was a kind of, I don't know if you said, maybe viral post on Instagram. And I sent it to you the other day.
Yes.
And it's like, postpartum depression screenings suck. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to say, yeah, they do.
I mean, I really don't disagree with that. And I feel like more often than not, at least my experience working in the hospital, the Edinburgh scale or assessment is what gets used more often than not.
Right. And we even use it at Previa.
We do. And the thing is, because it's really one of the few postpartum screenings. So that's why it, by and large, is what gets used more frequently. My biggest takeaway from the Edinburgh is I do feel like it's easy to decipher what it's asking. Mm-hmm. So if someone isn't super comfortable asking or answering those questions, or they're worried, well, if I answer truthfully, what's going to happen to me and my baby? Are they going to get taken away? You know, those fears are legit.
Yeah.
Those are valid concerns to have because there are those horror stories, you know. So throwing that out there, yes, I feel like Edinburgh is easy to decipher.
Right.
And I can understand why someone wants to fly under the radar. They may not feel comfortable answering those completely. But for Previa, we kind of use it as a baseline. Mm-hmm. And we do it multiple times throughout the pregnancy and postpartum.
Right.
So if we have someone who, let's just say they're in their second trimester.
Right.
And they score, we'll say moderate.
Uh-huh.
They deny any type of suicidal ideation or thoughts.
Which is the last question. And it's important to say that the point of the Edinburgh is, and it's research backed and it's shown that it works and can help identify people. Mm-hmm. But where we're getting, and it's honest feedback and critics from moms who's like, not been screened or this has been thrown at them at a 6 weeks appointment.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that they didn't do that in the hospital because when I worked in L&D, it was done postpartum, like second day, like day after delivery. And then when I delivered my girls at a different hospital in the same city, same story. It was given to me day after delivery.
And see, for me, I was never screened the whole entire time.
That is bizarre to me.
So, and we delivered in the same city.
Uh-huh. Now, just listeners, if y'all know, Birmingham has
multiple.
I'd say 5 or 6 L&Ds in the area, all within a pretty, like a 10-mile radius.
Yes. And so here's the thing with the screening is that it's a baseline for a large group of people. And let's think about it this way is like, we would love for care to be super individualized in America where you had a one-on-one with your provider, if it's your midwife, if it's your OB, and they get to know you very personal. Yeah. You have a long visit. They can kind of really know, hey, Whitney loves to run, and Whitney usually does this, blah, blah, blah. And then notice those changes like naturally.
Yeah.
We would love that.
That would be ideal. However, that is not the case.
No.
And this is not to shame the providers because they are in clinic. They are also doing surgeries. They are also doing deliveries. They have a lot. They're doing on-call rotations. So they have a lot to juggle. And I don't have any hate towards them.
No. And
because they're still good providers.
And they have to, you know, it even goes back to insurances and what's
I was
paid.
about to say, I think that's probably the bigger issue.
You know, they have to now see like, you know, every 5 to 10 minutes see a patient when realistically they want to give you 30 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
But they can't for so many restrictions. Yeah. So the screening was a way that they're like, we have all these women who need to be screened. We have providers who don't have time, that don't have the ability to make that personal connection. So here is something that's going to get a baseline.
Yeah.
We need something for them. And it does work. Yeah. And it does work when done in the right environment.
Yeah.
But the key here is follow up.
Yes. Which is why Previa does it throughout your pregnancy and postpartum.
Right.
Up until you are a year postpartum. Because let's just be real, nobody is immune from life.
No.
We may screen you unknowingly at a time that's really hard in your life. Yeah. If you're a student, it could be midterms or finals. For all we know, you could be going through, some family traumas or some grief.
Yeah.
Like there could be a number of stressors in your life that we're not aware of.
Right.
And so you go in and you fill that Edinburgh out. And again, you score moderate,
right,
denying, the suicidal ideation plan, things of that nature. So then we reach out to you and we say, hey, we noticed that you scored an 8, a 9, something like that. We just wanted to touch base with you and see if you were, open to talking to a therapist or
Right.
talking to your OB about a medication and things of that nature. Now, depending on where you're at that point in time, you may say, you know what, getting those resources on board could be super helpful for me.
Right.
Or you may say, I know that I'm really stressed because of blah, 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 blah going on. Give me about a month. Let me just see where I'm at in a month. And if I'm still struggling, maybe then I'll want to start therapy. Okay.
And that's great. And
you have the freedom to say yes or no, or to pick and choose.
And we make it very easy for our Previa women to connect to a therapist. That, like we put it to probably constantly, hey, you just email us here, you let us know here.
Exactly.
But with the screening, it's like you're going to see it so often if you're in our programs, because we want you to be comfortable with it.
Yes.
But we want you to really know how to read the questions.
Absolutely.
So we'll do a little role play of what it is. So it's like, one of it's like, I feel like things have been getting on top of me lately. And I say a new mom might be like, yes, Whitney, I feel like the laundry and the bottles and I can't keep up with my thoughts. Things. Now, if you've seen that as many times and you've been educated, because we have a whole section of a digital library that's on Previa that we're talking about postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. We're talking about intrusive thoughts. We're giving you tools.
Kind of the nitty gritty stuff.
Of really what we're asking you.
Yeah.
We're saying, but if a mom who's went through this and she's been educated, she's going, yeah, you're right. I can't shake like this constant rage.
Yeah.
I'm feeling because things are getting on top of me because I'm always so angry. So so it's like you can look at that question very literally, or you can have the education behind it and know, actually things are getting on top of me because I'm feeling so hopeless.
Yeah.
Or I'm rageful.
Or I'm so sleep deprived that when my baby does nap, number one, they want to nap on me. You have a contact napper. So you can't sleep then too because of safe sleep and all those kinds of things. So you're running on 1 or 2 hours of sleep.
Right.
Of course you're going to feel like things are on top of you because you barely have enough energy just to survive the day.
So you're going to know after education of what the biggest thing is, knowing what is expected versus not, and when you need help. And we give you that education starting in with the first screen. So we're literally walking you through things that could be happening and what needs help and what needs support versus that is to be expected because they're sleep deprived. You just had a baby. Now you've added another kid to your life.
Yeah. And that's one of those like, okay, do you need friends or family to come bring you a meal or to do a load of laundry for you or just to hold the baby while you get a shower or a nap or fill in the blank of whatever that need is.
Right.
Or is it one of those, okay, I have, 5 baskets of dirty laundry that need to be washed, a sink full of dirty dishes, and, I can't seem to even get my head above water. So then you feel defeated.
Right.
So many things are out of your control. So you're angry.
Yeah.
And again, let's throw in the physical components of sleep deprivation, of healing from a delivery. Even if you had a great, uncomplicated delivery, you're still recovering from pregnancy and delivery, and you just notice yourself like you're short-tempered. Yeah. And you get mad at yourself for being short-tempered because you're thinking, this is not my norm.
And I feel guilty. Yeah.
And that's just a ball of wax right there. But it's one of those, we've been there.
Yeah.
We get it.
So that's the context too, is just, so if you are being screened, I think that's great to even start. Like if they're doing it, they're trying. Now, the problem is if they are screening you, but they're not giving you resources and help and a connection to therapy.
Or even offering.
Or kind of just being like, okay, you scored a 10, good luck. That's where, I think it's wrong. And and that's what we've always said with Previa is we can't just screen you.
Yeah.
We have to give you access to resources and education and therapy.
And here's the thing too, as a licensed social worker and therapist, I do not have the privilege of writing prescriptions.
Correct.
Whereas an OB does. And so it's one of those, I'm going to give you more of your coping skills, your tools, the opportunity to decompress. And if we still don't see the progress you're looking for, that is when I would say, well, let's get your OB on board and talk about medications.
Right.
What could you need even PRN, which
Right.
is as needed.
Right.
Whereas, let's say you do score a 12
Yeah.
on your Edinburgh, which is a higher score. Your OB may say, okay, well, are you breastfeeding, postpartum, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's a script for some Zoloft. And that's it. And there's nothing wrong with taking a medicine, but that can't be the Band-Aid.
Because we have to, so cognitive behavioral therapy, or you can say talk therapy, EMDR if you've had traumatic birth. These therapies are they're really teaching you how to change your thoughts and actions and patterns and give you that support and that coping and that processing, which I think all moms just need.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're not taught this. No. So it's like these questions too are helping us to say, hey, are you struggling? But if you're seeing these questions, you're going to feel comfortable because these are all sent to our women via text or email. So they're doing it in the comfort of wherever they are.
Yes.
So they're getting honest answers. And we're explaining in our digital library, on our podcast, hey, what are we really asking?
Yep.
Are we asking, I'm having difficulty sleeping. Are you having difficulty sleeping because your baby's waking up every 30 minutes? Okay, yes. Or are you having difficulty sleeping because when the baby's sleeping, you think they're dying and you constantly wake up? There's a huge difference.
If I sleep, then they will die while I'm sleeping, so I have to stay up and watch them. That is when we say, okay, well, that's postpartum anxiety. That is rooted in a fear of SIDS.
Yeah.
Valid concern because SIDS exists.
It does. And let's be honest, we hear so much bad. So yes, am I being more anxious? Especially during our pregnancy, because we ask that during our, when the women are pregnant in our screening. Yes, I'm anxious. I have my anatomy scan coming up. My friend found out their baby had this wrong at the anatomy scan. I lost a baby last time. So, okay, so when we screen you in that time, we reach out, we get context. Or if you're already in a therapy, you're going to know that as their counselor. Yes, this is, you're 24 weeks. This is coming up.
Yeah.
I get why you would be more anxious. Now, we go and continue on. If you're still scoring higher and higher, we need to really check in again.
We do.
Because there's something else besides that event that rightfully would trigger probably a lot of people.
Absolutely. And let's just say this too. If your score increases, that's not a character flaw.
No.
That just tells us, okay, maybe some of the things that we've recommended are not working.
Let's try something different.
Or maybe, again, because no one is immune from life, something else has happened in your life that has honestly made you feel hopeless.
Yeah.
It's pushed you to your brink.
Yes.
Which, okay. Yeah, understandable.
Right.
No shame in that.
No.
But we want to make sure that we address it.
And so it's getting to know you in a baseline and checking in and establishing where you are. So we're looking at the whole thing. We're not just going to look at your score and say, okay, Whitney, you scored this.
Yep.
That's who you are.
Yep.
No. We're looking at it and saying, okay, let's go back to the questions again. Why are you not sleeping?
Yeah.
Let's get behind it.
Like, what's the root of this?
And, we do ask about self-harm in the screenings. And that's appropriate to ask.
It is.
And sometimes that's super for people to say, Whitney, are you having thoughts of harming yourself? You may feel like I don't want to answer honestly because of my fear. You're going to take away my baby. You're going to judge me. You're going to say I'm a bad mom. All that, but it's coming to you in a screening, it's coming to you in the privacy. You can be honest.
Yeah.
And then when we've had outreach for our women who have answered yes to that, they have all been very accepting of help.
Oh, absolutely.
And they want help, and they're like, no one's ever asked me.
Well, and here's the thing. Nobody wants to feel that way.
No, I didn't want to feel that way when I was
Nobody wants
suffering.
to feel that way. And here's the thing. When we ask, are you feeling suicidal? It could be thoughts of everybody would be happier without me. You may not have a plan. You may not have a means of carrying out that plan. It just is one of those lies that your brain is telling you.
Right.
Of everybody would be happier without me, or everybody's life would be easier without
Which
me.
is not true.
I was about to say, and that's why I call it a lie from your brain, because it's not the truth. But when you're already struggling and you get hit hard
Ugh.
with one of those heavier thoughts, it's a challenge
It's a
to
big
fight
challenge.
it.
And, it's like you mentioned better without you. And I remember thinking that about when I was suffering with Will. It's just, I thought that like living the way I was feeling every single day was impossible for me to think about continuing like that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because it feels hopeless.
So that question of how are you having thoughts of harming yourself is an introduction to why.
What's really
what's going on. So all these questions are a baseline starting point. So I hope your providers are screening you guys, and I hope you're listening to this knowing there's more behind it. So when you're answering it, you need to have someone say, let's talk about it. Why are you feeling like you're not looking forward to things?
Because here's the thing, if we get to the root issue and we start to really heal that, other things that kind of branch off of that, it's like a domino effect. They start to heal. So think about like if you get a cut on your arm and it starts to get infected. Well, a Band-Aid and some rubbing alcohol is not going to cure that infection.
Yeah.
Okay? We might stop our bleeding.
Right.
We might stop the bleeding.
Right.
But ultimately, down here, we have an infection that really needs an antibiotic.
Yeah.
And a lot of them.
Yes, so much.
And so when we get to the root of that infection and that heals, guess what? That cut, that wound will start to heal.
And that's what we're doing. It's so the screenings, yes, let's agree. They're not great just by itself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's something that's for the masses. That's a baseline that the providers can do in the time they have.
It's a starting point.
It's a starting point. So don't get fixated on that's all. I hope that's not all you have.
Correct. Because then that would be a red flag for me to think, oh, well, I was just given this paper, filled it out, and they said, oh, this is what you scored.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah. Which I know it happens to women.
It does.
And it's a disservice. And that's why we're trying to change that with Previa. So just know, yes, when we screen, we're gathering your baseline, but we're always going to ask more, and we're always going to get to the root, and we're giving you education of knowing, yes, there's a difference of saying, like we go back to, I can't sleep because my baby is constantly up.
Yeah, they're colicky.
We get that. Now, again, if you can sleep because of someone's there,
SIDS fears or what have you,
or you don't trust anybody else to take care of your baby.
I really don't. Again, you're calling me out on the podcast. Okay.
That was me too, though. I thought I was the only person, even though I had great support, that could do it right.
But see, I will say this. I didn't trust other people to care for my baby during the night.
And that's
because, I mean, think about it. Most people, unless you work night shift, your circadian rhythm is
and you're
set.
Like, are you going to be able to stay awake? Right.
Correct. And I don't want you to fall asleep holding my baby. But I could accept help during the day.
So then then take naps and do what?
Yes. So that was where I kind of got to the point of, okay, if I can't be okay or at peace with someone helping during the night, but someone can help during the day,
then that's great.
Bingo. That's what I need to do.
So I think it's just telling moms. So we want more for you, and that's why we're trying to do this. And it's the screenings, and we hope, and hopefully as time evolves, we'll get down to the nitty gritties. But think about it. If you're not Previa and you're not getting the full background resources and therapy, just think with that, at least if you're being screened, that's a start, because that is a preventative measure.
Absolutely.
So some people have never been screened for mental health issues before in their life.
Oh dear.
And they should be. It should be part of our care growing up, and it should be a topic. And we should be talking about postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. We should be talking about depression, anxiety in general.
Yeah.
Even before we're pregnant.
Yeah.
Because it affects so many of us.
Oh, absolutely.
But if not, we're at least the screening starting point. And if we want you to, if you are screening, you don't feel like, say, hey, I want to talk about why I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
To them, and ask for a resource. Postpartum Support International is a great place.
I love them.
You can find a therapist there.
And support groups.
And
I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, they have a text line.
They do. Okay. It's non-crisis, but you have that available.
Like if it's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You can text somebody.
And say, so if you can ask and say, yes, look, I recognize I'm not feeling enjoyment.
Yeah.
I want to kind of help get to know why.
Yeah.
And we want you're not supposed to feel like you don't have resources or you don't have anywhere to turn, but you do. You end up feeling that way. And that's why we're losing moms to feeling like people don't care.
Yeah.
So yes, let's state it. Screening is not enough, but when it's done properly, your questions are looked into.
Yeah.
You're given support and therapy or medication. It works.
Absolutely.
So don't get discouraged. And we want you guys to constantly be advocating for yourself.
Yes.
You deserve more.
Absolutely.
Mom's mental health matters.
And I know as a mom, you're thinking, oh, good, something else for me to tackle. I get it. It is a lot. We're already carrying so many things and having to juggle so much. However, this is something you should and can take priority and take charge of. Yeah. So if you get that screening at your 6-week appointment, at your yearly or what have you, and you fill it out and your doctor says, okay, well, this is your score, even say, well, what does that mean? And is it low, moderate, or high?
And if they go, oh, you're fine. So you know what? Actually, I don't feel fine because I know one of the questions said X and I answered not as much.
Yeah.
So that means something's changed.
Something's off.
And then we're going to continue to give you education resources on the podcast that say what's to be expected versus not. And on Instagram, we do that a lot as well. Yeah. So, because if you don't know, a lot of people they think it's just because I'm pregnant. It's just because I just had a baby.
Off.
So we're not writing you off.
No. And here's the thing. Hormones play a role, but that is not the sole cause of this.
No, it's not. No.
That is a soapbox for another day, most likely, but it drives me nuts when that's the scapegoat for
And don't
everything.
let people just say, oh, it's your hormones.
Oh, that drives me bananas.
Yes, we all have hormones. And we all have, yes, they do play, but they're not the sole whole thing. And hormones eventually do go back, but the underlying issues, they don't go away.
That root
doesn't. So let's get to the infection, like Whitney said.
Got to get to the infection, got to heal it, and then the healing will continue to grow.
As always, you guys, we're always here for you. And send us what you want to hear on Instagram, Previa Alliance, Previa Alliance Podcast, and let us know how we can best support you.
That's right.
Until next time.
See ya.